Well, folks, we've been waiting for news and we've been waiting for an update. Today, get the announcement. The commitment is all in. Dylan Raiola is all in.
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, gang, DP here, Locked On Huskers and 93.7 The Ticket in Lincoln, America. And today's a special day. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers a part of your daily day. We want to make it first, but sometimes the news breaks late. And sometimes, we have to adjust. So we called the audible. We're going to run this late night tonight. We'll have another one for you tomorrow morning to break it down. But I want to thank you for making Locked On Huskers a part of your content and a part of your day. Your Huskers every day. We're back on the road, so we'll have some content for you. And, of course, we were waiting for today's news so we can talk about that. Couple of things about this, all of this in full, that what Husker fans that I've talked to wanted to know was what the standing was for Nebraska in the football pantheon. Folks outside of Husker Nation have said, well, Husker Nation can be delusional in that they're not who they once were. They're certainly not as relevant as they once were. Some would even dare say irrelevant. And then the record and production falls into it, coaching, development, player snafus, that sort of thing. All of that's in play. So when you're looking for good news, and having danced this dance before with Dylan Raiola, and then having him choose other. So first there was the Ohio State conversation, then the Alabama conversation, then the Georgia conversation, all of them including a Nebraska conversation. And to say this as simple as we could say it, this is the son of a Husker. We're talking about the son of a Husker, a great Husker, an epic Husker, a Hall of Fame Husker. From Dylan Raiola's own mouth, it's in his blood. His name's in the building. His name is on the walls. The pictures are there. The stories are renowned. And now he's the son, he's the nephew of a Husker. He'll have family in the room. He'll have family in the room. And listen, let's not miss this. That when your uncle is in the room and is tasked with producing, developing, creating an offensive line whose main purpose and task is to protect the quarterback of the University of Nebraska, add to that the name, and then add to that the blood. And then think of the trust that's required for a 5-star, number one quarterback in the country, Dylan Raiola, to find trust, to find a coach that he trusts, a program that he trusts, steps that he trusts. Because, listen, nothing speaks to it than looking at your dad's tapes and seeing the scarlet and cream, seeing the big end, seeing what the sea of red looks like, feels like, sounds like, and knowing. And then recognizing what Matt Rule has done. He has this is staking his flag in the new planet that is Nebraska football. This is a statement-making move to go and get number one. And listen, I don't care what program you're part of and who you root for. You have to admit, it's a statement out loud that when the number one quarterback, and that's the position of all quarterbacks, that's the position of all positions, quarterback position. When you get the number one quarterback in the country to say, I trust you with my well-being, my future, my development, my game, my resume, my reputation, my legacy. There's a lot to be said behind Dylan Raiola choosing Nebraska. And listen, for Husker Nation, look, throw confetti in the air. Everybody wants to be wanted. I don't care what program you're a part of, who you root for, who you played for. Everybody wants to be wanted, and everybody wants their program to be chosen by somebody that everybody wants. That's the way it works. And so, 5-star, 6'3", 225-pound, and there's a lot of things in this thing that's in play. But Dylan Raiola has committed to the Nebraska Huskers. He's committed to Husker Nation. He's committed to Matt Rule. He's committed to his uncle. He's committed to the community. He's committed to the existing players on the roster. And if you don't think that the roster is going to change quickly because of this, you don't know football. You don't know football. Everybody wants to be in the end place. Just look at Colorado, look at Alabama, look at Georgia, look at USC. There's certain programs that when you see it, you react to it. You have some visceral reaction to it. And players have those same reactions, especially young players. But to see yourself, the best of yourself, in a program, in a coaching staff, in a community, what Dylan Raiola just did for Lincoln, Nebraska, the University of Nebraska, Husker Nation, what he did was a resounding thumping of the drum and a pounding of the chest to say, we are Nebraska. Go Big Red. Now, there's lots of things that are in play here. And over the course of the next few episodes here on Locked On Huskers, a couple of things to make note of, just so you get what it means beyond the name and now the neighborhood that you're in, because you're shopping with a black card. Yeah, you're shopping in the high rent district. Like you're not just you've plopped down a flag and turned the first stone in a really nice neighborhood. And there are accountabilities that are required there and securities that need to be put in place. But the fact that you got into the neighborhood, you got in the gate, what you do with it now determines whether you improve the neighborhood or you lower the neighborhood. Dylan Raiola is a step up. It's a big foundational brick. It's a wonderful thing. We'll throw it a break. When we come back, there are a couple of things I want to talk about. Why? 5-star. That whole 5-star thing means what it means, but there are reasons why he was so coveted by everybody. And this is everybody. So when we come back, we'll talk about Dylan Raiola. What does he do? What is it about him that makes him the number one quarterback in it? Before we go to break, though, Rico, kind sir, if you would please let the fans know about eBay Motors.
Thanks, DP. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Back to you, DP.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate it. We'll throw it to break. Locked On Huskers will come back and we'll break down Dylan Raiola. What does the tape tell us about this young man who just committed to Nebraska? Hey, gang, welcome back. DP here. Locked On Huskers, a big day for the end. Dylan Raiola is in. He's all in. He's all in. Listen, I appreciate folks going on this path and this journey because this has been a roller coaster ride, and it's been its own, mystery novel. Who done it? Who's going to get it? Who's responsible? What does it all mean? College football is standing on its toes tonight, looking over the fence into Nebraska's yard, trying to peek in the windows to see what's going on. Because the most coveted quarterback in the country, high school quarterback in the country, chose Nebraska. And there's another part of that we'll talk about in the final segment that adds even more intrigue to it. But let me tell you, we don't have to be much more intrigued than this. Let me go through some of the things that fall into play when it comes to talking about Dylan Raiola. And listen, size. Again, having size doesn't always translate to playing quarterback. And it doesn't always translate to making plays. Nebraska's had big quarterbacks. They've had big, strong, athletic quarterbacks before who couldn't deliver the bread, couldn't deliver the mail. They just simply couldn't do it. That's a statement of truth. Everybody that's around it understands what I mean by that and why. Now, what does Dylan Raiola bring to the table? And I want to – there are a few things that jump out that and we're talking about not only watching game tape, but then getting your hands on the full 22 tapes and then talking to opponents' coaches. It's one thing to talk to Dylan's coaches, but to talk to the opponent's coaches who scout him and have to face him and they're around him in that space, and then to talk to the Elite 11 quarterback coaches, and to have them just rave about, well, listen, and just let me rattle through some of the phrases that were used about him. Tough as nails. Always in control. Is a leader in the huddle, on the sideline, and in the pocket. They talk about pocket poise and that thing that allows somebody that when chaos is happening around you to know in full what's coming, what's next, and what your reaction should be. He's not the best running quarterback Nebraska's ever seen. He's not going to be – no, there'll be other quarterbacks on the roster who run the ball better than Dylan Raiola. But Dylan Raiola can put his feet in the ground. And here's the part about that. There are quarterbacks, and Nebraska fans in recent history, you kind of understand where I'm going with this. There are quarterbacks that when chaos happens, they can make calm of the chaos by running the football and running away from tackles. But there are some elite quarterbacks in the country that when chaos happens around them, not only do they have the ability to step up into the pocket with purpose, but he can slide in the pocket. He can step aside in the pocket. Great quarterback coaches like to talk about quarterbacks being made from the ground up. His footwork is exceptional, and he never seems off balance. And that's a lot for a 6'3", 225-pound quarterback. I wouldn't call him a dancer, but I would call him agile. And when he feels chaos around him in the pocket, some Nebraska quarterbacks lower their eyes and they become runners, and it becomes a different thing altogether. Dylan Raiola can do that. But what he shows on tape is that he has a full understanding of the 11 that he's playing with, the 10 he's playing with, and the 11 he's playing against. He knows where everybody should be. And he communicates, and there's some physical things that he does which allows you to know that he's guiding his receivers. He's talking to his offensive linemen. He's vocal even in the running game when that happens in the shotgun. He carries. I think his ball handling is going to get better. It's good enough now, but I think it'll get better because it'll take more pressure off of him. The pocket poise, which allows you that when chaos and the coaching axiom is when chaos happens, slow down, and chaos ceases to exist. What happens in that allows Dylan Raiola to slow down and not panic is a high football IQ. It is a high-level football IQ. And that's from scheme, concept, what the defense is doing against him, what talent he's throwing to, because he'll throw different balls at different receivers. He'll put different touch to different spaces on the field. He understands down and distance. He also understands spacing his offense, and that when he can get a receiver with some space, he will throw them more open than they were. And again, let me repeat that. The quarterback, when he throws a receiver more open than they are at the time of release, that requires knowledge of IQ, persistence, that requires arm talent. It requires all of those things. And the IQ part of it, not only from the Raiola family, but also from, you can see the work that he's put in knowing where his people are, where the defenders are going to be or where they're supposed to be, and then identifying the right throw. He has arm talent. He's got a rocket arm. But what he's really got is touch. And he doesn't miss. He doesn't miss the throws he should make. 11 career interceptions means, listen, he takes pride in the ball. He takes care of the ball. But what I'm telling you is, watching him throw, and in different ball games against different defenses, what you know is this: he makes the right throw most of the time. I won't say all the time, because there's no quarterback that makes the right throw all the time. But he has an understanding of what's coming at him, what he needs to accomplish, and then what the best way to do it. Listen, he doesn't miss any. Of the 15 throws a quarterback is asked to make, he's on the dime on 9 of them. And I mean on the dime. Throw a dime in the air, he'll throw a football from wherever he is and hit it. There'll be some times where under pressure, and that's all teenage quarterbacks, sometimes under pressure, he will try to do too much because he normally can't. But wisdom comes with that, and you learn. And he'll walk into some of that in year 1 as a starter at Nebraska, because Big Ten defenses, they play different and they play hard. They look for mistakes and they create them. But this young man has, I'm telling you, the laundry list of all the things that he does well is long. It is full. He competes. And on that, we'll throw it to break, and I'll pause, because when I talk about what's going on with this young man, he competes. And that takes us to what's next in the quarterback room and on the roster at Nebraska Lockdown Huskers. Hey gang, DP here, and again, thank you on a big day for hanging out on Lockdown Huskers and putting this content in play, because there's so much to talk about now, because there's more to talk about. We have more information, and we won't be done. Tomorrow's episode, listen, we'll talk about, look, there's some other commitments, and there may be more commitments coming. And that's important. But one of the things that happened along this journey, and trying to figure out who was going to be QB1, then there's talk of Casey Thompson coming back and maybe being, big bro. Being big bro. Maybe it's his job to come in and kind of guide Dylan Raiola, a nice safety blanket, kind of Linus's security blanket, even though we know that he can win games in the Big Ten Conference. But there's going to be some leadership required, and there'll be some changes in the quarterback room, amongst those Daniel Kaelin. And there are folks on the good old internet that like to say that, well, Dylan's moved around quite a bit. He doesn't want to compete. He only wanted to be the starter. Let me tell you that you don't get to be QB1 of all quarterbacks without competing for it. You go to camps, you go to drills, you work with different trainers, and the trainers all talk. The coaches look at film. Your opponents look at film. They all share stories. If there's a pimple, they sure can tell you why it's there and how it got there. But Daniel Kaelin's also an Elite 11 quarterback. And I can tell you First of all, anybody that knows Casey Thompson knows he likes a little competition, Petey. Love a little contact. Daniel Kalen's the same way. And if you are sitting there in thought that Dylan Raiola is coming to Nebraska and expects zero competition, oh my goodness, you are so far from right. What now happens in this competitive room, in this program that wants to change how people talk about it, perceive it, and then play against it? You now have Dylan Raiola, the number one quarterback in the country. You have an Elite 11 quarterback in Daniel Kalen that, listen, to be fair, to be honest, if Kalen was going to be QB1 or at least in the conversation to compete, Husker fans would have been okay with it. They know the young man. And if Casey Thompson is added to the room, and no matter what you do with Harburg, and if he goes to tight end or if he wants to stay in the quarterback room and compete, maybe there's some situations you use Harburg at quarterback. You put him in as a second or third tight end, you run a little action with him, and you can do some magical things. The room has changed. The temperature of the room has changed. The thermostat in the room reads different now than it did 12 hours ago. Why? Because with one swipe of the pen, when that happens, Dylan Raiola changes the program from a competitive standpoint, from a branding standpoint, from a work standpoint, and then from an exposure standpoint. Because there are programs and players and coaches who are talking about Nebraska tonight that would rather have put Nebraska off to the side in a pile. But folks, you're going to talk about this Huskers team, and they're not done yet. There's that. I'm DP. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. We appreciate you. And on these great days, first of all, we shout out the women's volleyball team, number 2 in the country. Fantastic season, 27-game win streak. Bravo to you, to John Cook, to that roster. Exceptional young Husker talent. No seniors. They'll return again next year with some fine additions as well. Husker basketball with a big win over Kansas State. They improved to 9-2. The women improved to 9-2. It's a good time and a good run. And then wrestling and Mark Manning and this wrestling team is getting it going. So listen, it's a great day to be a Husker and a great day to say, go Big Red.